So movement keys cause the most problems with the H, J, K, and L right underneath your fingers to learn. They just take practice. There's just no way around this. This is just like learning to play the piano. You aren't going to get good at it without practice, but if you practice, you get really good and you get used to it. To the point where you will go into other editors like Word and do J, 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 and go, ugh, groan, and then go, okay, I've got to adapt to this other thing that doesn't have proper movement keys and requires a mouse to move. Plus moves to the beginning of the next line. Let me demonstrate that. If I am up here at new stuff and I do a plus key, I go right down to the beginning of the new line. Okay? If I wanted to go to the beginning of the current line, I can do a 0 and get to the beginning of the current line. If I want to go to the end of the line, it's a $sign. I think I have talked a little bit about star and the different control things for moving forwards and backwards through sections of the file, but you've got F to move forward a screen, or Control B to move backwards a screen. You can do Control D to move down 1/2 screen, and Control U to move up 1/2 screen. I tend to use the half screens more often than I do the others for some reason. Insert. When you want to actually insert text, you have to hit an I first. And then when you're done inserting, you hit an escape to put that text in. And that may seem like the most odd thing at the beginning, but you kind of get used to it, and after a while you go, yeah, this is probably a good thing to have a modal editor. A appends. The difference between insert and append is insert inserts before the current character, append adds after the current character. So if you're at the top of your file and you want to insert something new before the very first character, you need to do an insert. If you're at the end of a line and you want to add to that line, you do an A to append to the end of the line. There are lots of things to do deletes, and we can do deletes with things like, remember, we can move forward a word into the file with a W command. You can combine that with delete, and you can do DW, which deletes the next word in the file. Or you can change the next word with CW. So you have some particular word that you'd like to change. Like here we have stuff and it's not spelled right. I can move to the beginning of it with a B command, and then I can do CW, and I can change stuff to things. And then I hit escape when I'm done. If I want to delete a word, it's DW, and I delete that entire word. And I just did a :W to save the file. You can replace individual characters with an R or an S, depending on how you're doing it. Let's try an R. Let's say things I want to replace to the end of the line, or I want to substitute an individual character, and I did S, capital T, because I wanted the character T there, and an escape. But let's say that you want to do, say, 5S, because you know you have 5 characters you want to replace, and I replace those with I's and hit an escape. So you can prefix these things with a number to say how many. For instance, maybe what you really want is you want to delete 2 words. So 2DW deletes 2 words at the same time. You can prefix things like deleting lines. I think I've demonstrated deleting several lines. You can delete everything to the right of the current cursor with a capital D. X deletes the current character that you're on. So if I want to delete those 2 T's, I can do XX, and then I can hit I and put in a TH if that's what I want. But the X's deleted individual characters. Another thing you can do is you can do the tilde character to capitalize things. And each time it capitalizes, it moves 1 character forward. So you can capitalize moving across a certain section of text that way. We talked a little bit about marks. Let's talk about the cut and paste buffer. If I do DD, it puts that section, that line that I just deleted, into the cut buffer. And if I do P at some other location, it'll paste it. In fact, I can paste it a whole bunch of times if I want to. So you can paste over and over things. In fact, you can precede paste with a number. So if I have, let's say, I want to do a set of numbers. I need those 5 numbers. I can do 5DD, and then I can paste them repeatedly, and I'm moving up 1 character each time and pasting it. But each time I paste it, it gets pasted a certain number of times. Now, if I knew that I wanted 10 of those, I could do 10p, and I would get 50 lines because there was 5 lines in the buffer, and it did it 10 times, giving me 50 lines all at once with that in it. You can find characters in front of you. How do we find a character? Let's go over here and let's say that I really want to find the capital B. So I do FB and it moves me forward to that character. I can also do DFB. Oops, what did I just do? DFB. And it will delete up to that character that it finds. So you can both find to move forward, and you can delete up to that point. If you want to find that character again, you just do a semicolon and it will walk to the next character on that line. It won't go to the next line. If you want to find something on the next line, you have to use a slash and a pattern. If you want to repeat the same command you did last time, this turns out to be one of the most useful things. You just hit a dot and it repeats the command. So I could do 2DW to delete 2 words, and I decide I want to do that again. I just hit a dot and it does that again. I can also reposition and do that again lots of times. So the ability to just repeat commands. If I've got 2 lines and I want to stick them together, I want to join the lines. That's a capital J. So let's say that I really want this on 1 line. I can do capital J, and I can just join those lines together. In fact, I could do 5 capital J, and I could join 5 lines together at once. U undoes the last command that you did. And the undo buffer, as far as I can tell, is pretty much infinitely large. So if you make a bad mistake, you can undo a slew of times. If you want to go backwards and redo things, you can do Control R to redo things. And you can walk backwards, you can walk forwards through your changes. We've mentioned before, saving your file, you can do :W, return. Anytime you do a colon command, you follow it with an enter key to run that command. So :W return. To quit and abandon your changes is :Q!, or to save your changes is a :ZZ or a :WQ. So things that involve the EX colon mode. If I do :R, it reads a file. Depending on how I want to do that, sometimes I do :.R and the file name if I want to read it in at the current location. That also means that I could do $R to read in a new file at the bottom of the current file. And any of these commands that take a range of line numbers, you can always do : your starting line number, comma, your ending line number. And you have a bunch of choices for that line number, or line location, I guess is what I should say. The first thing would be line numbers. Like you could do 5,10D and delete those 5 lines. It would now be in your cut paste buffer, and you could turn around and paste it. You can use patterns, as in regular expressions. You could do : starting pattern, comma, ending pattern. You can use marks. You can use computations like I'd really like to start at line 10, and so I'll do :10, slash, and there's something I'd like to stop at, so I'll do some pattern like end, but I don't really want the end. I want to be right before the end, so /end /-1, and then I want to apply my command. So you can position and apply commands. Whenever you're doing some sort of substitution, the default is to use a slash. So we do s/pattern/replacement/. But if you have slashes in there and you don't want to hassle with it, you can use other characters, and pretty much you can use any non-alphabetic, non-numeric character in your substitutes, and that way you could substitute other things. There is a % command that is really useful for going to the matching thing for stuff in code. Let's do a piece of code here, and let's say I'd really like to go to the match for that parentheses. I can do a %, and now I am over here at the other one. I can use % to match to the end of squiggles. There is an extension that you can load in VI that allows you to do this for HTML tags. So you're at the beginning div tag and you want to go to the matching end tag, you just hit a %, and it takes you there. So those are kind of what I would call the basic set of commands. There are specialized commands for marking visual regions and column commands and all sorts of other things. Some people are incredibly fond of the map command. It allows you to build or combine instructions, commands in VI, and give it a key sequence that you run stuff with. So if you really want to, I don't do this, so I won't demo it because I never use it. But some people are incredibly fond of it. If you want to have, some particular thing that you type that produces an if, open paren, close paren, and 2 squiggle brackets because you're programming in C++ all the time. And you can just have a little map that you type that character sequence, and it produces that for you in positions to where you insert and does the insert for you. So you're now ready to insert the condition for your if. And that's also very useful, not something that I use, but then I use the things that I find convenient, not necessarily the ones that you'll find convenient. The other things I should mention. It works with Unicode so that you can edit characters in other languages. If you want to insert control characters, usually you have to type Control-V and then the character. That varies a little bit since on a Windows system, Control-V has some other meaning like cut and paste related. And you're going to have to poke around to find out what the substitute is for Control-V in that case. But there is a substitute on Windows. And we've talked about prefixing things and the cut and paste buffer. I think that's kind of like the overview to VI. If you want to use it a lot and you're frequently using it, you probably want to turn on some other options that are available in VI, and I'll show you the options in my Vim RC file. The one on line 3 here, no compatible, says that I want to use all the features of Vim, not the compatible set of VI features. That allows me to have things like extended commands. The set hidden allows for multiple buffers so that I can switch back and forth between many different files with things like :n to switch to the next file if I'm editing multiple files. And the shift width has to do with tabs. If you particularly like 4-space tabs, that's how to set up different tabs. And I have a whole slew of other things in there, like what color scheme it uses, syntax coloring. is usually one of those things you really, really want if you're editing code and you want to do colon syntax on, but look for stuff on syntax coloring, and you can find on the web how to set up syntax coloring for different systems. I do expect you to go and do the tutorial. There will be a homework that will be out in the next day or so on using command line stuff and using VI editor with it. So you get some of both. Next time we're going to go on to how to use Git effectively. And Git is one of those tools like VI. It's much newer than VI, but it has changed the world of software development and pretty much is used universally in software development these days. There are very few people that are not using it in some form or another with the different GitHub, GitLab, or their own hosted Git repository. So we will be moving on to that next time.